Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our wildcard video going into game week 17. We're nearly halfway through the season already. If this video does help you out, please do subscribe, like the video. The support has been awesome, so thank you to the people who have subscribed recently, and a big thanks to the people who have been subscribed and supported the channel for even longer. Let's take a look at how this wildcard team looks. And as we get into it, we're going to start with the goalkeepers, and we're going with Raya and Fabianski, which is what we seem to have been doing over recent game weeks, and there's just no real reason to go for another combination unless you really wanted to save 0.2 million and go for a non-playing goalkeeper with the plan to always start Raya, and therefore you don't really need someone like Fabianski. But Fabianski is the cheapest playing keeper, and Raya is the cheapest and most secure way into the best defence in the league. You know, you might want to go for someone like a Timber and say he's a tiny bit cheaper way into Arsenal's defence, but he's not got the guaranteed minutes that someone like Raya does. So into defence, and usually we go cheap in defence, but I thought it'd be interesting to mix it up a little bit and go big at the back with Trent and Gabriel. You cannot afford to go even cheaper than someone like Howard Bellis, as you'll always be playing the first two, and then you'll also probably be playing a 3-back, but Howard Bellis is a cheap playing defender that's always useful to have over the Christmas fixtures. Trent at 7 mil, he looks expensive, but if you compare him to midfielder prices at about 7 mil and below, he's probably the best pick because he can score points through both defensive and attacking methods. And Liverpool's fixtures look great between now and mid-February, and he is also probably worth the price difference between him and someone like Van Dijk. Gabriel is back in the Arsenal defence, and he's the best Arsenal defensive option. You know, especially he's already 0.1 million cheaper than Saliba, which seems crazy considering you think how much of an attacking threat people said Gabriel had earlier in the season. So if I was picking anyone out of the Arsenal defenders right now, it would be Gabriel. I've gone for Rico Lewis. I know he's a perceived minutes risk and he'll, get rotated out sometimes, but he has had his rest now with his suspension, and it is probably worth having a Man City player in your squad with Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford and Ipswich in the next 6. At 4.6 million, he's also the lowest risk option from them because of his price. And if he's benched, well, he's only 4.6 mil. So players at that price usually are on your bench anyway. So I think for the upside that he could bring, just on the odd occasion you might want to start him, I think he's worth a pick there compared to the other options around that price. Rounding out the defence, we've got Robinson. He's a great buy anyway if you're looking to rotate your cheap defenders, as his fixtures include Southampton, Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham and Leicester in the next 6. You could definitely commit to a back 3 of him, Gabriel and Trent, and just sell Rico Lewis to save yourself £500,000 to invest in the midfield. But a little cover is worth it at this time of the year. Robinson also has 3 assists in his last 3, which is great, but he's probably not sustainable, so I would just bear that in mind if you are getting him in. He looks fantastic from an attacking point of view, but your 4.7 million left back just isn't going to get you an assist every week. I think 1 in every 3 is absolutely fine and to be expected. So onto the midfield, and as it's been for the last couple of weeks, we've gone with both Palmer and Salah. I do think you still need both. They're pretty much identically owned. Palmer's at 62.7% and Salah's at 63% for the most ownership out of all players in FPL. Both players have great fixtures, so whether you want to get points or you just don't want to be left behind in your mini leagues, I think they both really need to be in your team for the foreseeable future. The real question is who do you captain each week, and that's where you could gain ranks over your rivals. My third midfielder is Bruno, who at 14% owned is a bit of a differential, but I think it's important to have players somewhere in your squad who can improve your rank. If you just have the same template players as everybody, you're just going to stay with the group, and at some point you do want to start overtaking people. Man United also have some good festive fixtures with Bournemouth, Wolves, Southampton and Brighton in the next 6, and Bruno's quietly gone and got 8 attacking returns in his last 8 games, which for someone like that you think would be getting a lot more talk about, but I just think Man United, as maybe people have gone a bit cold on them. I think Bruno's currently underrated. Enzo Fernandez also makes the squad, another player who'd be a good pickup if you're just using a free transfer. 6 returns in his last 5 games, he's on form and playing further up in the Chelsea setup. A little risky as your 4th midfielder, just in case his form drops off or he changes his position back to how he has been doing. But with more money in defence, I think he's a great cheap option to enable that. So up front, we've gone with Alexander Isak. He's a very popular player right now, and with 9 returns in his last 8, it's easy to see why. And it's definitely not too late to bring him in. I think the most difficult fixtures in his next 8 games are Man United and Spurs away, but they're still good fixtures from an attacking point of view, and Newcastle have started returning their chances. A triple Chelsea attack could be overkill, but with Enzo being so cheap, I think it's still affordable for someone like Jackson to be in your squad. They're in form from an attacking point of view, and we know how good their fixtures are. They've also only kept 3 clean sheets in their 15 games so far, so using a Chelsea spot in defence could be a waste for their upcoming fixtures. I do think that triple attack would be quite nice, and if they're scoring 3 or 4 goals a game, you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself attacking returns having Palmer, Enzo and Nicholas Jackson. So the final player in our lineup is Raul Jimenez. He's only got 1 goal in his last 8, but this pick's really about predicting where the points are coming from next. We've spoken about Fulham's fixtures, and they are having a really good season. I think for the price, the risk could be worth it, as he's only 5% owned. So overall, shout out to Fantasy Football Hub. This team rating comes in at 94%, which I think is really good. We always say if the rating is mid to low 90s, that's absolutely fine, because that's enough data back up to sort of choose that you're heading in the right direction. But there's so many variables in football that you just can't take into account. So have the data as a backup, but just bear in mind it's no guarantee. So the price for this squad is 100.9 million. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but if you're an engaged FPL manager, you hopefully can kind of afford it. And there are some places we're going to talk about where you can still save money. Now, some of these players, you might have owned for a while. If you brought Salah in a while ago, well, this squad isn't going to cost you 100.9 million because you've saved that price increase in Salah. And same for players like Palmer, Isak. You're very likely to have some of these players already in your squad. So for me, the strengths are it's big in defence. We talk about not everyone's keeping clean sheets, or really hardly anyone's keeping clean sheets. So to go big in defence not only means you've got defenders from good teams who are more likely to keep clean sheets, but it also means that they've probably got some good attacking threat, which Gabriel and Trent do have. So you are likely to get more points from attacking opportunities by having those players in. And it is also easy to save funds here. If you didn't want, if you thought the bench was a little bit thin, which it is, you could drop someone like an Isak or a Jackson and upgrade your bench, or you could say, well, I don't really want Raul Jimenez, so you could swap out Jackson and then you could use that money to upgrade Raul Jimenez and have 2 mid-price strikers there. And the same thing for someone like Bruno. If you didn't want Bruno in your team, you also weren't too keen on Enzo, well, you could save $1 million there and upgrade Enzo to maybe someone like a Smith Rowe, and you could drop Bruno to someone like a Jared Bowen, or even if you wanted Mbeumo back in your team, if you feel like Brentford is going to keep their form going, you could sort that out. And the same in defence. If you didn't want Gabriel and Trent, you thought that was maybe too much, there's loads of 4.5 million defenders. You've got Lewis Hall, you've got other players from good squads that you could also get into your team and just save some money elsewhere there and reinvest it into your bench. So the weaknesses are that we do have a weak bench here. It's probably the weakest bench we've had in a while. And going into Christmas, that is a bit of a problem because we are at risk of rotation. So I think we've talked there just about ways that you can invest. I wouldn't over-invest in your bench. I think having cheap players as your second and third option, as long as they're going to be on the pitch, that's absolutely fine, because every week you'll pick 4 or 5 players in your starting 11 who then go and get you 1 or 2 points anyway. So if a player is rotated out and they come in off your bench and they get you 2 points, I think that's absolutely fine. And it is big at the back, which me personally, I'm not playing in my own FPL team. I think a lot of people are talking about getting in, double Arsenal defence and Trent. And I think it is a really good option. If you're deciding to go big in defence, I think this is the way you would go. It's just whether you want to play that way with clean sheets being a bit scarce. But I think if you were going to go double in any defence, Arsenal is probably the best defence to do it, and Trent probably is the best attacking defender, so they're great options nonetheless. So let me know what you think about this team. Let me know if you've got any transfer questions in general, because even if you're not wildcarding, some of these players are great to get in using your free transfers. Hopefully you're having a good game week, and you're enjoying FPL and all the football that's coming thick and fast. Thank you very much for listening. Please do like and subscribe. Honestly, it is really appreciated. and I will see you in the next one.